Hello, this is Brian Albright, Editorial Director of Digital Engineering Magazine. Today we're speaking to Brenda Discher, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Marketing for Siemens Digital Industries Software, about how her company is supporting Siemens customers and healthcare providers during the COVID-19 crisis. Can you tell me more about the current situation at Siemens Software? How are you and your employees responding to the pandemic?
Well, we're doing pretty good. I'm actually sitting in my home office in Michigan, in my home, like most of our global workforce. And my personal observation is simply people kind of helping each other, neighbors helping each other, friends reaching out, talking to people I haven't talked to in a while. And I've really been impressed with the sense of community, people taking the time to accommodate others. And that's become kind of this overarching theme around collaboration. And I believe it's impacting the reaction of business, not only internally with team members, but across our global supply chain. So, like at Siemens Software, our priority has always been the health and well being of our employees and customers, now more than ever, and their respective families and communities in this pandemic. And despite changes in kind of how we're working and kind of me being stuck in my home, we're really fortunate to be in a business where remote work is normal and it hasn't been a big major impact on our productivity, and our focus continues to remain in front of mind to support our customers. And our R&D teams, they're very focused on our roadmaps. Go to market teams are very focused on virtually delivering customer commitments, and the leadership team is really investing in better collaboration tools and reminding everyone to be flexible. In the event there's a kid or a dog in the background, whatever the personal situation is, we're creatively looking at how to get the most value out of this situation. So we really come out stronger, faster than before on the other end.
What other steps has Siemens had to take to support your ecosystem of customers and partners and employees?
So we've done a few things so far. We're kind of trying out new things on a weekly basis. So we know many of our users are working outside their normal environment. So we're working to expand access to our portfolio. We've made many of our products, such as Solid Edge, NX, our simulation products, and many others, available for home use. So anybody that had access to our software in the office, they have access at home. We also announced a free version of Mendix, which is our low-code application development platform for anybody, so that people can build low-code apps to improve efficiencies between different processes that they may know about in their office. And last week, we even announced that one of our newer offerings from our Mentor acquisition for PCB design, PADS Professional, is also available free to download for students and instructors. And we have a bunch of products available to startups and students. The other thing we've done is, we're taking advantage of the changing work conditions, which presented an opportunity for our community to increase their skills with our software. So effective last week and for the period throughout this COVID-19 situation, we're offering free 30-day subscriptions to our online learning memberships. So we have this membership called Perform, which gives customers free training content so they can improve the product they already own. And we have another free 30-day subscription called Masters, which allows people to get like a virtual classroom and get access to tools they may not own so they can learn them and kind of provide knowledge on capabilities that they might not yet know about to improve their abilities in these different tools. And finally, we're actually looking at canceling and postponing events and transitioning to virtual events, whatever works best for our customers. So that's kind of the stuff we've kind of are starting to launch at this point.
Mhm. What are some of the best examples you've seen of how the industry is responding to this? Where are we seeing some innovation and ingenuity?
So this has been my favorite thing as a result of this situation. I'm amazed at the things that the community have done in response to this crisis, and really things that have been expedited, like new products, especially in the medical device industry, or new apps to capture and share health information as a result of this situation. It's really been nothing short of inspiring to witness and to be able to play and even be a small part in the worldwide effort to adapt and fight against this global threat. it's really been an interesting experience. Let me give you a few examples. So, in response to kind of urgent needs for ventilators, we've seen automotive and aviation leaders come together, people like GM and Ford and Virgin Orbit and VinFast and Israel Aerospace. These guys have come together to produce ventilators. Dyson, whose teams have started to manufacture ventilators in the United Kingdom, have come together, with our own employees. Also in the UK, teams from across Siemens have joined with other manufacturers, people like Airbus and Rolls-Royce, into a consortium to rapidly scale up production for ventilators. And we've even seen F1 teams, these are kind of the college kids teams, come together, the competition teams, come together as part of Project Pit Lane to scale production of existing ventilator designs and reverse engineer existing medical devices. So kind of really cool stuff in the area of new product innovation. In response to testing, Siemens Healthineers, which is a sister company, has developed a fast-track diagnostic test for COVID-19 in a matter of 3 hours. And Bosch, a customer of ours, developed a COVID-19 rapid test in the past 6 weeks. And in the Netherlands, the municipality of Rotterdam is using Mendex, our low-code platform, to actually build apps that track the course of the pandemic and how people who have lost their jobs and are unemployed applied for government support. It's pretty cool. In response to kind of new product development and more flexible manufacturing, we're helping in this area by making our additive manufacturing network available to the global health community. So doctors and researchers can easily get 3D objects printed, such as a replacement part for a ventilator, and find out somebody to produce or manufacture it anywhere on the globe through the distribution of the 3D network of printers and manufacturers and suppliers. It's very interesting. And it's really been fascinating to watch the community and competitors come together to offer expertise and resources and technologies to fight the battle. And yesterday, I had the opportunity to work with some of the local hospitals here in Detroit. And I get the pleasure of dropping off a bunch of masks that were donated to Siemens from the government of Longquang in Chengdu, China, which has been a partner of ours in an autonomous electric vehicle project. So they have donated 150,000 face masks to Siemens employees and to countries that have been hard hit in the US and Europe. And I have the pleasure of taking them to the Detroit area hospitals this week. It's just really cool.
Great. Brenda, you've long been a proponent of digital transformation and the power of digital technologies. How do you think that digital twins and other types of digital technologies are playing a role right now?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of digital twins and digital transformation. And I really do believe that the investment in the digital transformation journey creates a nimbler manufacturing enterprise, one that can respond to market changes with more speed and a lot more flexibility and agility. And that's, pretty important right now. The odd effects we're seeing in the buying behavior and the consumer reaction are really profoundly disrupting every aspect of manufacturing, planning, development, and production. Production's shutting down, and in some odd cases, it's rapidly accelerating, like in the medical area we just talked about, right? And so it's fascinating to watch. There's really no middle. It's either shutting down, like in our own factories or car manufacturers, or just ramping up, like in the medical device industry, where they're struggling to keep pace, not only with increased volume, but in some cases changing the mix of the products they need to deliver. Nobody was really prepared for this. And we had a lot of lessons learned from other crises, the financial crisis in 2008, the nuclear disaster in 2011. But none of those disruptions, prepared us for the abruptness, unlike the financial crisis, or the ubiquity, unlike the nuclear incident, that this situation has created for us. The bottom has fallen out of the market. Demand has changed and supply chains are being disrupted everywhere. And as we kind of ramp back up, manufacturers will have a new sense of urgency around cost and margin, and they need to rethink their processes, their supply chains, their tools, and any critical gaps they have in their digital infrastructure. And I actually believe the digital transformation and digital investment efforts are going to drastically accelerate and become an imperative, as we've now seen, in fact, maybe an existential imperative.
Uh, Kind of along that same line, then, as companies start thinking about emerging on the other side of this crisis, of this event, what are some important things they're going to need to think about?
Yeah, well, we're in a forced time right now that we can use to reflect on our strategic priorities without the normal pressures of the market demand. So while it's a little bit of a terrible situation, we can really look at available opportunities and leverage the time to our advantage. So as different as the onset of the kind of pandemic has been from other national disasters, so too will be the recovery. And I expect the ramp to be kind of really fast as we kind of get out of these lockdowns. And so what can manufacturers be thinking about? I have a couple of suggestions. So first is prepare. Take the time not only for ramp up, but for the future of the enterprise. The reality is now more than ever, manufacturers must digitalize their processes. And if they weren't embracing this before, they must now. It's really an imperative. Second is plan. The gaps we're seeing today in manual processes are breaking down. They're exasperated by remote working, and the need to prioritize these digitalization opportunities is even more pressing. And it can't be done overnight. You need to apply manufacturing level systems in a very thoughtful process. And getting visibility and transparency is a quicker endeavor, and often is what we suggest as a first step for a manufacturer who's charting their digital roadmap. And from there, they can prioritize, automation, maybe a supply chain initiative, a quality management initiative, or maybe a complete digital manufacturing infrastructure that connects design to planning to product utilization. Having this digital transformation roadmap and a plan will really help manufacturers chart their journey. Finally, or kind of another area is really in partnering. Manufacturers are going to have to make new friends with new partners in their ecosystem, sourcing from different places on the planet, and looking at new ways of their tools and their technologies, and working with ecosystems in a distributed manner. Everything about the digital process related to remote working will also have to be rethought. While sometimes, infrastructure of the internet is really being strained. I mean, I know it, I'm feeling it in my own home. Um, I'm amazed to see the processes that have been quickly created to deal with remote workforces, which I think will be really interesting on the backside. Lots of opportunities, and really smart manufacturers, they're already investing in these imperatives as part of their digitalization agendas.
And then finally, as a solution provider, what do you think are some of the biggest lessons that Siemens has learned during this crisis about how your solutions can be used, or how your customers want to use your solutions under these types of circumstances?
Yeah, it's been an interesting time period. Well, first off, we've learned a lot about what it takes to be available for customers anywhere, anytime, and not relying on face to face or physical events. So we're really having to use technologies to collaborate and communicate virtually. And what surprised me is really the amount of interaction we are having digitally with our customers. The demand for our online content is way up. The access to our products off the charts, and our virtual classroom training that we've made available. The take up has been huge. And while it's tough that we're canceling some events and postponing them, I'm convinced actually some of these virtual moves will actually pay huge dividends in the end. And we're also modernizing our own tools and technologies so that we can get ready for the next generation of our workforces. And we're using our own tools like Mendex to improve our own business processes and efficiencies. The leadership team is creatively looking at, how do we get the most value out of this situation, looking for what I call those kind of hidden gems again, or opportunities, like I said before, so that we come out of this faster, stronger, and probably wiser. I'm really convinced that we can do that.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Stay safe.
You too.